We're at the D.M. Hunt Library in Falls Village, Connecticut, where folks have gathered to honor Falls Village artist and illustrator Ken Musselman. There's Ken in the gray sports shirt with a name tag. A few of his paintings are shown on the wall. Many will be sold. Ken was raised in the 1960s and 70s outside Cleveland, Ohio, known then for its massive steel mills. But Ken lived in the suburbs.
That was my house in Brooklyn, Ohio. That's where I grew up. So if anybody asks, are you from Falls Village? I'm not. I'm like an outsider. Uh, that's the house I grew up in. Oh yeah, this is funny. I always like this picture. This is life in suburbia. I mean, look at the enthusiasm on everyone's face. This is so Rockwellian. I gotta like do a painting someday. You get a close up on everybody's like dad's at the grill. You know, I'm laying down in the laundry. We got grandpa visiting, my mother, my brother's on my sandbox, and my little sister there. And it's a white house with a white picket fence in the backyard of Brooklyn, Ohio. This is June of 1972. Oh my God, that's so funny. It's so funny. Oh man, good times. This was the tree in the backyard that would bloom like every May, a crabapple tree. And I remember my mother telling me when I was a kid, you know, it's like, oh, I'm so glad. And she'd be like in tears when the blossoms would fall off, and I told her I'd go out there and we'd scotch tape them back on again. So, but I've painted quite a few pictures of this in my day when I was in high school. Yeah, actually, it's a picture of me when I was in high school, painting in the backyard. I did this. This is summer. Actually, 76 is the year before I graduated from high school before I went in the Navy. And any event, I was the best artist in high school. So after I graduated, they took all my paintings. This is one of them, and they hung it up in the city hall, and they framed them for me. And then they were in the library and whatnot. And any event, that was before I went into service in the Navy. And then when I went into the Navy, let's see, we'll just throw these over here. Keep going. This is like show and tell. That was me in the Navy. If you can believe that, huh? That's great. Hey,
Yeah.
look what's behind here. I didn't even know that was in there. And then when I was Navy, I met my wife, who was also in the Navy.
Really?
And yeah. And then there's another Navy picture. I was like, what, 18 years old when I took that picture, when they took that picture. But yeah, that's what brought me to this area to begin with, was my wife, which was great. She was in the Navy, obviously, I just told you that. And she was a dispersing clerk, which was the pay clerk, which is when you're in the Navy, the best people to know were the cook and dispersing clerk, the person that paid you. So you see, I don't miss too many meals, and I married the dispersing clerk, and she grew up in East Canaan, and in any event, long story short, we got married, and somewhere in here, one of our honeymoon pictures. And where else do you go when you get married? Disney World. So I love her Disney, but this is outside. It's a Polynesian resort or something. That's us. You believe that?
Beautiful.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I was in service, that's me, the captain of my ship. I'm getting another award for painting murals. I did a lot of mural painting. But my specific job when I first went in was to become a structural mechanic. What was interesting about that was that I went to A school to learn how to use a screwdriver, aviation fundamentals school in Memphis, Tennessee, Nat Center. And this is what you basically learned from this book. And my objective, because they didn't have a school, was to be this. So by being this, I did this, and found out, like everything else, a roundabout way, in a sense that, well, it doesn't. It's kind of hard to put together, but to become a illustrator draftsman, you had to do on-the-job training, which meant there was no kind of school for it. So, in the event, I went to this fundamental school, and in my 2-week time period waiting for the A school to come available to become like an airman and learn how to become an airman, I decided I didn't really want to wash dishes for 2 weeks. So there's this big white wall, and I got a picture of it somewhere, but I painted a mural. And I had a lieutenant say, you know, you shouldn't really be a mechanic, you should be an artist. And in any event, that made me on the job to become an illustrated draftsman like this. And it's kind of interesting because stuff in here is so old. You were talking about.
Yeah, show us some of those things that you drew.
Well, it was interesting. To make a long story short, this is the book that I illustrated. Because when I became an illustrated draftsman, not only learned from this book, I helped draw it. So this was one of the first publications that came out in 1980. But you got to remember, a lot of the stuff that I did was all drawn by hand. Like, for instance, you know, things like this that were done, you know, on Mylar. I was trained as a technical illustrator. I like that. That's one thing. And then, you know, we use airbrush. Well, even like that right there, it's all drawn by hand. You know,
this over here?
yeah, this one here. Pretty much a lot of this book I illustrated. There's some more things like that, you know, like that. And it was all done by hand before computers, and just constant drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing. When I was in the Navy as an illustrator, but I also did drafting. You know, I was drafting missile silos. I had no idea what the heck they did. And here I'm drawing Armageddon because I'm drawing things that would essentially go on a Trident submarine. I was in the Navy for 4 years, and then right after, well, my wife still had a year to go, and so I did a lot of different jobs in Jacksonville, Florida. I worked for Sunburst Graphics. I did screen printing. One of the places I worked for, the owner was a part owner of a Panama Jack suntan lotion. So I did a lot of things for Panama Jack. We did reprints. At Daytona Beach, we'd sell seconds. I did some design work for Kentucky Derby, 108th Kentucky Derby. We had a lot of different accounts and things. A lot of various different art things, anything art related. But, you know, I also, you know, waited on tables. I worked at a gas station as a manager. I did all sorts of stuff. And then we were getting, what brought me to this area in Connecticut was the Lakeville Journal. There was an ad in a paper for a graphic designer. And I thought, well, heck, you know, I asked Kathy, I said, well, where's Lakeville in relation to where you know, you grew up in Connecticut? Because I'd never been to Connecticut before. And she said, well, that's, you know, that's a couple towns over. There was a company called Dottie Smith. I did an interview, and lo and behold, you know, an hour after the interview, I got the job. So in Connecticut, the job I had, I was working at a marine engineering firm as a draftsman or something or other. And I resigned from that, and then got on, you know, we did all the stuff to come to to Connecticut. My job was to put together this catalog, which came out biannually, and they were always 6 months ahead. And fashion would go out as soon as, it's like, you do this and fashion changed. And she'd come in with like, Dottie herself, come in with like 65 different earrings and bangles and bracelets. And I'd have to illustrate this by hand. So I was drawing this stuff by hand in pen and ink and everything. And like the next day or the end of the week, however her schedule was, she'd go through it and say, discontinued. I think 2/3 of them ended up in a circular file. I never threw anything away because it would always come back. But everything I drew would end up going into a drawer somewhere, and they only took a specific amount, and then they would run with that in their catalog. And I had no conception or idea what the heck women's fashion was. I don't know about a bangle from a bracelet from an earring to. I really wanted that job for a long time, and it was really great. Kind of ran its course. Fashion does that, and like anything, it had a good run. I think I got there right at its zenith, and this thing started to pass on, and like any business, it kind of fizzled out. But we all got pink slipped, groups of us during the courses of time. It was important to keep gas in limousine. But they got rid of me, and I got laid off. First time I ever got laid off on anything in my life. My wife wasn't working at the time. I had a child that was like 1.5 years old. I had a mortgage, and I was at the tender age of 24 years old. I mean, I was doing it right, but everything was kind of going wrong. So then, I was unemployed for some months. My wife had to go, scrub bathrooms somewhere. I don't know. She worked at all these different various jobs. And I eventually got a job in Hartford with the Advo system, and it was in a national print account executive. All right, so I did that for a while. I got sick of commuting to Hartford for 2 years. I was going to hide behind a brush, and that's what I was going to do. And for a long time, my first gallery was PS Gallery, which I'm still friends with Pat Steyer. I don't have anything in the gallery now, because anybody knows the galleries. And I was looking around at all the paintings. I said, I could paint, I could paint, I could paint. Well, finally, I just said, actions louder than words. I went home, got a piece of canvas, 24 by 48, painted the farm in a winter scene. Put it on a wall. It sold in a week. I want more. From that time on, is before 2008. I was probably selling, on average, a painting a week. And then the economy kind of went, and I was still selling, but I wasn't selling enough. And at that time with PS Gallery, I picked up other galleries. At one time I had, 3 galleries running for me. I'm always thinking, my wheels are always turning. I see things and then I just paint or draw them the way that I see them, and having the ability to do pen and ink illustrations was great. I was always in mischief as a child, so I always found myself drawing because I spent, I think, about 2/3 of my life grounded for doing something stupid or another. I don't know. Yeah, I'm the type of person that would always like, how far to push the envelope, kind of like Columbus, the world's flat. Well, how far do you know how far to push the envelope if you don't know where the edge is? So, don't push me over the edge. And I always wanted to see where the edge was, so I knew where my perimeters were, and I always went a little too far and ended up grounded for one reason or another. Which brought me to, I had to kind of entertain myself, so, at the early age, here's a little picture here, I think this is from 1962. I was always drawing as my coloring book, and I was set up there. It was nothing like getting a new coloring book and fresh paper for Christmas or whatnot. And my dad's glasses, I was always entertaining everybody coming coming to the house. So this was like during Christmas time. I had fire engine jammies, get ready for bed. So I always put a show and dance on for the people. When I was a kid, one of my big inspirations to become an artist was this right here. I've always drawn and painted and illustrated. These golden books were the best thing. I was 3 years old, 5 years old, in my crayons, and I would try to draw the pictures in these golden books. And my talent really came from my grandfather. This is my grandfather's work. You got to think this is his sketchbook that I was allowed to have. My grandmother gave this to me. We'll talk about, Barney Google days and all that. And I keep this close. He did a lot of stuff. This is his sketchbook when he was a kid. But because it's like all, stuff when he was a kid, this is something that, you got to think this is like, in the 20s, early 30s, Depression, so, hope for becoming an illustrator, but that was his love. And his love for books too carried on. And it certainly carried on with my son. And my mom was, a librarian and all that. Just stuff like that. Let's see, there's all sorts of stuff in here. But anyways, yeah, stuff like this. Cartoons that don't even exist anymore. But that's where my love to become. I want to always be a cartoonist too. So I had it from a lot of different angles to become an artist. So hiding behind a brush was a good thing for a lot of different reasons, and that's what I did. That's my mom and dad. They were in Hawaii. My mom passed away. She was 55 years old, so I kind of outlived her. I'm 58. Died of breast cancer. And my dad died of loneliness some years after that, so parents are gone. And, that's what happens, it's life. But my mom was always encouraging me to go back to the whole thing with going to school and learning art. And she was working on her doctorate's degree. She was a librarian. She was always the big instiller of, encouraged me with my artwork. My dad was proud of me, but like I said, he was a tradesman guy, and he saw what had happened. His family, it's funny because he ran a linotype. He was a linotype operator. He was in the printing business. That's us. My wife was in the Navy. We used to do a lot of parties. It's after we got married. Oh yeah, gotta show these too. That was me when I was, what the heck, I was 3 years old, 2 years old, something like that. 3 years old, yeah. Sporting looking guy, huh? That's cute. My son, who graduated from the Naval Academy in 2008, he's a lieutenant now, and I have a grandchild. I have 2 grandchildren now, a girl and a boy. He volunteered to go into the Navy. He volunteered to go on submarines of all things. Like, oh my God. Went on submarines, did like 4 patrols. He was on USS Rhode Island, which is a boomer, which were the things I was drawn to try in submarines. This thing was like as long as 3 football fields. For a submarine, and as wide as a 4-lane, 5-lane highway. The thing was huge. It's like an ant on the side of a loaf of bread. The thing was and there were like 12 on this coast, 12 on the other coast. I knew all about tridents, so he did that. Oh my God. This kid didn't swim, he got sick just going up and down in an elevator. Yeah, I'm an artist, but what do you do? What's your day job, you know? And I try to say, well, I draw, and I do. I paint every single day. Every single day I paint. I pick up a brush. See, I don't think of art as it's kind of hard to explain. Anybody who's an artist, it comes from here. But the artwork is something you just, you know, it's me. It's just, I enjoy doing it. I hope I can do it until, I think I'll kick with a brush in my hand. You know, it's a career, it's a life choice that was God-given. And I don't know, we still on?
We're still on, but we could wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
I didn't talk too much already.
No, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, you do a good job on this. This is great. It's good for the town.